Hello and welcome back to Fanteam Focus. I'm joined with Callum today. We're going to be going through the weekly monster. We're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff. Callum, how are you doing?
Yeah, very well, mate. I obviously enjoyed last night's opening game of the Premier League season. I'll be honest, I wasn't even surprised. I don't know if it's again just with me and with my bias head on, but I was almost like, you know what, that's the result that if I saw that on a random Saturday 3 o'clock, I just kind of not really bat an eyelid anymore. So I loved that. I enjoyed that. And obviously, I'm going to make sure that I revel in that success for at least one more day until Man City takes apart tomorrow. But yeah, I certainly enjoyed last night's performance.
So, did you watch the game? Because I listened to it on the radio, but for some reason I just like listening to it on radio sometimes. But yeah, did you watch it? Did Tony play well and Buemo and stuff like that? Did they play okay?
Yeah, so I mean, don't get me wrong. When I first looked at the Arsenal team, it was pretty poor on paper. Obviously, Aubameyang and Lacazette were ill, and
Yeah.
now obviously there's rumours out this morning that actually Aubameyang they're quite happy to move on and sell. So I'm not quite sure what's happened behind there. But when you kind of look at that team, and it was like Balogun, Martinelli, Pepe, and obviously Smith Rowe played in the 10. You're almost just like that's just not a particularly good Arsenal team. And again, with a back four of Chambers, Maori, White, and Tierney, again, it's just something that doesn't really excite you anymore. So, kind of the takeaways that I've taken from it, from the Brentford side, they were really good. Their high press was amazing, like the way that they took in exactly what they did in the Championship straight into kind of the Prem, which is nice to see. There was no kind of it's the Premier League now and he's changed the way we play. They pressed so high and so like energetic for the whole 90 minutes that Arsenal struggled to get out really. So that was nice to see. And Buemo obviously is potentially one. We tweeted out a bit of a watch list last night, and he's one that's definitely on there because he did play straight up front. He was actually higher than Tony a lot of the times. Tony dominated Ben White. Ben White had an absolute. He had a bit of a tough game, bless him, since it was his debut. So he was on there, and Tony basically won everything. He bullied him, and then Mbuemo was onto every single kind of flick that Tony won. So Mbuemo is a 5.5 midfielder on Fanteam. He certainly played the highest of the team last night, so he's one certainly to keep an eye on. Tony didn't have any shots on target, but again, looked really good. Worked hard. Again, he got that 90-minute points, which, he didn't do anything last night, but he still got 3.3 points, obviously, for the win and the extra point at 90 minutes, which, again, they all add up, certainly in Fanteam. So from Brentford, those two look good. Again, Canos scored and kind of took the set pieces. He's potentially one to keep an eye out for. And then Arsenal, yeah, like I said, were really poor. Ben White, he got ruined. Smith Rowe looked an absolute class above. He was kind of the only one that stood out for Arsenal, along with Tierney, who I think his XG for assists was quite high last night. So there was just nobody on the end of it. So kind of the four that we're taking out mainly, obviously, Mbuemo, Smith Rowe was good, Tierney was good, and then kind of David Raya in goal. Obviously, had clean sheet, had a load of saves. Didn't particularly have anything tough to. He made one great save from, can't remember who it was, but it was a great save at his near post. And he racked up loads of points. So Reyes potentially one to keep an eye on as well, at kind of a 4.5 million keeper. He's one to keep an eye on for as well. But yes, it was actually a really good game, and it was a nice game to watch. I say as a neutral, obviously I'm not particularly a neutral, but it was a really good game to kind of kick off the season and to watch.
I suppose we can't move on without mentioning the Phantom assist. What did you think of that? What was your
Yeah.
opinion? Obviously, I was listening, so I didn't see it.
Yeah, no, I think that's very much just the high ownership of FPL and Fanteam players trying to hope it may have scraped the tiniest bit of hair from Tony, but I don't think it did. It looked like it missed everyone. And I don't know if you heard it, but Carragher's little like 30-second absolute rant on Arsenal in that commentary was hilarious. He was going like, I can't even remember what he said. No, it was like, oh, typical Arsenal, weak, bullied, like all of this. I was like, man, this is great. The season's back. But yeah, I don't think it was an assist. No.
Typical Arsenal. It makes sense, but like you said, when you look at it, like Tierney, White, Mari, and Chambers, that's not a
Yeah.
scary back four, is it? That's
That's
like
what I mean.
soft.
Chambers he's not a right back either. Like he's one of those that he'll fill in, he'll do a job if you've got a few injuries there. But the fact that they've started the season with that, and certainly, I mean, I put in a group last night like the thought of Lukaku up against Ben White next week just makes me very excited, and I feel like Lukaku is going to be captaining everywhere, because I think Lukaku is just basically a bit of a better version of Ivan Toney, and Ivan Toney ruined Ben White. So if they play a back four again, that is not going to be a nice matchup for Ben White.
What I like about Lukaku as well is that it kind of allows the structure to hop on to Kane and off of Kane kind of thing, because at the moment there's no other real strikers at that price who you would want, is there? But if you've got two, it kind of makes it more viable, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm very much debating lots of early wildcards. I'm not quite sure. Obviously, the Kane stuff is still pretty much out in the air, but I feel like I'm going to need to get onto Lukaku quite quick, but I don't really have a route to him in many of my teams at the minute. So it would pretty much have to be a full-on wildcard, I think, in most of them, unless I take -4s or probably -8s, which I'm certainly not prepared to do at this stage of the season. So yeah, I feel like if Lukaku does as well against Arsenal as I think he will next week if he starts, I think he'll get at least a couple. I think we could be seeing a lot of early wildcards in that £1 million game.
I agree. So we're going to talk about Ultimate Fan next. So we partnered with Ultimate Fan for this video. Ultimate Fan, if you've not heard of it, it's basically a mixture between fantasy and pack openings, isn't it, Callum?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, so it's kind of completely free to play unless you want to get the subscription to get yourself a few more packs. But it's kind of on the route of everybody's in the same game week team. You enter your 5 players, you enter your team that you get given in your pack as well. And obviously they have a separate scoring matrix, which is very similar to a lot of the ones that you see in kind of day to day. It's quite basic. And then obviously at the minute, the prize pool for the game week one is £15,000. So for free, it's something that kind of, we've thrown ourselves into. And like I said, there is a subscription package of £4.99 where you get extra packs each week. But at the minute, nobody can kind of pay more than that. So yeah, it's very much a free-to-play fantasy football. You open a few packs. It's a bit of a luck of the draw depending on who you get, and then you enter your team each week to see how many points you can score.
So I downloaded the app yesterday. I picked my team. It's a very nice app, very polished, isn't it? Very professional. Yeah. Like Callum was saying, they're free to play. There's a 300 grand cash pool. And yeah, so to start with, here's Callum's team. Callum, do you want to talk us through your Ultimate Fan team?
Yes, obviously I'm limited-ish on kind of the players that I've got. I have got the gold subscription, which gives me a few more players. So obviously happy to go with Liverpool in terms of the team. Obviously we'll go into these in more detail later in a fan team perspective, but obviously Liverpool were big favourites. The one thing about Ultimate Fan that I'd say I probably don't like at the minute is that you can play multiple of the same player. So I'm going to kind of use it to my advantage now because I'm pretty sure it's on their radar to get rid of, basically. So Bruno, I've kind of captained and given the golden boot, which basically means if he scores, it's just going to give me a stupid amount of points. Again, obviously Luke Shaw. I don't particularly fancy Man United to keep a clean sheet, but I don't really have that many other options. Kufau and Dawson, again, Newcastle are no great shake, so I'm quite happy to stick them at the back. And then Greenwood, obviously with no Cavani, with no Rashford, I'd be very surprised if he doesn't start. So that's kind of the way I'm going. I'm going all in on the Bruno train, which is trying to cover my fan team entries, I think.
You clearly know far more about this than I do. So tell me what is wrong with my team then. This is my team here. So I've got...
go on, talk us through it.
Yeah, so I got the Chelsea gold thing, which is some kind of team card, which I'm guessing will get me some points, right? Because Chelsea are a great team. Yep. I've got Omar Bambadelli, which I'm not confident with, obviously, but I got Matty Cash, who I think is good. I got Ollie Skip on your recommendation. I've got Kovacic, who I think is a solid player. I'm just not 100% he's going to start. Tony Marshall, who is like my hero, and Dwight McNeil.
There's nothing wrong with that team at all. I think when you get to a stage of certainly with the free subscription at the minute, you kind of have to play what you've got, and then you hope that your pack is good each week. So I think certainly from what you've got out there, obviously, McNeil's such a solid player, isn't he? Just does anything good kind of from Burnley comes through him. Like you said, Martial should be playing a key role, certainly in the first start of the season. Cash, love Matty Cash as well. He kind of obviously coming from a footstop background, he was cast as a midfielder, which means no one ever picked him. But now, as a defender, Matty Cash all over that. Obviously, I'm sure the Norwich lad, I'm not sure if he'll start. If he does, it could be a tough evening for him, but you never know. Skippy, love Skippy. Just the fact that I'd fully expect Man City to turn us over. And then like you said, Kovacic is a good player, but I like it. I just think it provides something. It provides something different and a little bit of entertainment. When are you ever going to be supporting Ollie, Skip, Rhys apart from on this.
It's good, and like I said, the app is really cool.
Yeah.
I'm still learning it, but it's nice. It's very polished.
We love things for free.
Yeah, it's free, so why not? So we wanted to talk a little bit about the ownership in the £1 million game quickly before we jump onto the monster, because there's some key things we think are important. So I've got a graphic here of the top 10 ownerships in Fanteam 1 million. Callum, do you want to talk to us a little bit about this?
Yeah, absolutely. So these are all courtesy of Fanteam Stato on Twitter. So we have not made them ourselves. We have nicked them. So make sure if you do kind of enjoy those kind of things, he's posted kind of each a position breakdown as well. So certainly if you want to go and have a look at more of them, make sure you go and follow at Fanteam Stato on Twitter. But yeah, there's some big things that stand out here. The fact that the fourth highest owned player in the whole game is Robert Sanchez in goal proper blew my mind. I don't know if that's, again, because we've got obviously lots of FPL players, but Sanchez is in a few of my teams, don't get me wrong, but I think the save points is so much different to kind of like the bonus point system in FPL that people have probably been swayed a little bit that way. I can't quite believe he's the fourth most highest owned player. Obviously Salah, Bruno, Trent is kind of, you'd expect those to be up there. And then you've got Antonio, who's currently fifth, which again, I think that's probably more down to price point than anything else. 7.5 for a player like Antonio that obviously scores lots of goals and is pretty much, the talisman. Obviously, the only question is how fit can he stay? Ivan, again, at 50%. Is purely down to the price point, and obviously he didn't score last night, he didn't assist last night, but he got 3.3 points for not doing a lot. So it proves that the 90-minute men are high. Again, another one that surprised me, which I think is probably a little bit of a short-term punt, is the Simicast being number 7. Can I count? Yeah, number 7. 45.7%. But I think when you've got a 4 million defender, I think it's very hard to turn down when, he certainly should play against Norwich, where you'd expect potentially an attack in return and a clean sheet. Not quite sure if he'll play much after that, depending on obviously how fit Robertson is. But that certainly surprised me. But I guess people can't really turn down a 4 mil defender. And then to finish, obviously, we've got Danny Ings, Luke Shaw, and Sadio Mane. So, yeah, there's a lot of them that you'd expect. And then there's a lot of them, certainly that Robert Sanchez one has honestly blown my mind, how he's 54.2% owned. I just think that's absolutely crazy. Certainly when the other keepers, just give me 2 seconds to find it on here, is here. So the other keeper ownerships, you've got Emi Martinez at 10.4%, Bachmann at 14.8%, Jose Sarr at 10.3%, Schmeichel 9.7%, Meslier is only 4.6%, David Raya last night is only 2.7%. So it's absolutely crazy on the Sanchez train, but I guess everyone's been drawn into the FPL side, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you about the Sanchez thing. I picked my fan team, and we'll go into our fan teams actually for the monster later on. In my fan team £1 million team, I avoided Sanchez, although I picked him in FPL because of the reasons you were saying about the save points, etc. There just seem to be better options elsewhere, and it's not as if you're so hamstrung by prices as you are in FPL, for example. Sadio Mane being an example here, he's 36.6% owned. There are so many different ways into different players, and I think as a newcomer into Fanteam, I think it's so important, like you say, to be aware of those differences between points.
Yeah, and I tell you what, the one that's made me really happy, I was looking at some of the other ones here. Son is 25% owned, and I love the fact that 1 in every 4 managers has got him and 3 out of 4 haven't, because I just think his price point, I love that. So Son's kind of 24.2. The other ones, you got Mahrez at 26.8. Again, I think that's quite low for someone that is pretty hopefully nailed, and so they've got Norwich game week 2. I think he could be a captaincy option, let alone anything else. You've got Greenwood at 25%, which again, I think that potentially is a little bit high. But yeah, certainly that anyone wants to have a proper look into it. If you go on Fanteam Stato, he's got all of the different positions, all of the different percentages. Ben White last night was 31.6%. So a lot of people would have been unhappy on that unless people benched him. I think I benched him on pretty much most of my team. So I'm quite happy on that, because for some reason I just didn't really fancy him to keep a clean sheet. And to be honest, with their fixtures coming up, I don't really know why Ben White's in a lot of those teams, because I certainly don't see him picking up points. I think it's Chelsea and Man City is their next 2, and then Spurs in like game week 5 or something. So yeah, that is certainly a brilliant account to go and look at Fanteam Stato. But yeah, there's some really interesting percentages that I always am really interested to hear from, certainly when we have obviously guests on in the weeks going on, how people actually use those, because I don't know particularly how to use those percentages in such of, all right, he's very highly owned. Do you try and fade him? Do you try and just stay on the bandwagon? And I think, like I said in a few weeks ago, my aim is to just stay involved for kind of the first half of the season, make sure I'm there and thereabouts. So that probably means trying to get those high owned players in my team to make sure I don't fall behind and then go more aggressive. But it's interesting to see how people kind of determine what those percentages are.
So next up, we're looking into the weekly monster. Callum, again, I'm very new to these weekly monsters. I did my first one last week, the championship, and I lost all my money. I lost my £8. Absolutely fuming, but I had so much fun picking my team, and like I was so engaged throughout the afternoon watching I didn't watch the games, but I watched like a YouTube version of Gillette Soccer Saturday, and I was there watching it, and so it gets you really engaged in the game. Unfortunately, I lost my £8. So this time I've gone for a £1 ish entry. I'll show you the team in a bit. Callum, why do you like the monsters?
I think, like I said, it gives you that engagement going through the whole weekend, especially, normally, people put on an Ackers and they lose the lunchtime kickoff as such, which is what it's always called. Never back the early kickoff, and that kind of ruins your whole weekend. So I like the fact here that, to win it, obviously, yes, you're pretty much going to have to nail most of your picks, but to get a nice cash profit, to get a nice percentage, you can still afford 3 of your players potentially not to hit so well. The one thing that I've really enjoyed about it this week is that the price points just make it so difficult to cover every team that you want to cover. There's so many teams that you're like, they're going to do really well, but it's just impossible to get them in that budget. So it's nice that, it's not just people going, oh, Chelsea are big favourites this week, Liverpool are big favourites, let me throw them all in. You get to a stage where you certainly can't throw them all in, and you always kind of have to pick out that underdog. And that's the bit that I really like, is the fact that you always have to try and look at that team that are just underpriced for that week to be able to enable all of your big hitters in there. So for example, we'll come to mind later, I've got a few Spurs players in there, and I've got a few kind of Watford in there as the cheap options, because you can't physically put in all of the big teams. So it makes you think about it a lot more, which is the bit that I like, is trying to pick out that kind of underpriced underdog each week.
Do smash a like on the video, guys, if you're watching live. We've only got 2 likes, but we've had plenty of viewers, so don't forget, hit the like, hit subscribe if you're new. Plenty of Fanteam content coming on this YouTube channel and over on the Fanteam Focus website. The links are in the video description for that. But don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. That helps us out a lot. So with that in mind, let's have a look at the fixtures then for the monster. It's not every single fixture in the game week. It's just the 3 o'clock kickoffs, right, Cal?
So it will be the ones all across the weekend, apart from, it always gets rid of the lunchtime kickoff. So I think it's Man United Leeds today, isn't it? So it always just leaves out the Saturday lunchtime kickoff. So it normally starts at 3 o'clock, and then obviously also takes into account the Sunday. And then if there's a Monday game, it's normally in there as well. But yeah, it just removes the lunchtime kickoff. Not quite sure why they do that. I think it's just something that they've always done. So yeah, it'll start at 3 o'clock on Saturdays pretty much every week.
So we got Burnley against Brighton, Everton against Southampton, Chelsea against Crystal Palace, Watford against Aston Villa, Leicester against Wolves, Norwich against Liverpool, Newcastle, West Ham, Spurs against Manchester City. The ones that jump out to me personally are Chelsea against Crystal Palace, and you can see that in the player prices, like you said, the huge prices on some Chelsea defenders, for example, and obviously Liverpool against Norwich, yeah?
Yeah, they're certainly the ones that stick out. But like you said, when you start looking at the prices, I think Salah's like 14 million, like Havertz is about 14 million, Mane is 13, Jota's 13, and Werner's even like 12. So yeah, you can't, that's why I like it, because you look at it and go, well, yeah, Chelsea and Liverpool, the 2 standout games, but you're not going to be able to get both of them in unless you have absolute kind of duds everywhere else. So that's what makes it exciting. But yeah, certainly looking at those fixtures, the only other one that really sticks out to me is Leicester Wolves. I really just, there's something in my mind that tells me Wolves are going to have a terrible season. I look at their team, again, I just don't think they've got a lot there. I just don't think a lot excites me. So I think they're in for a long season, and we know how kind of organised, how how professional Leicester looked last week against Man City. And I think that they'll just take that into this, and kind of Harvey Barnes and Vardy and whoever else starts, Maddison, etc. I think could be in for a decent afternoon. So that's the other kind of fixture that sticks out to me. But again, Leicester players are all like 9 million anyway, so it's not like they're completely cheap. So it's difficult to get those in with Chelsea and Liverpool. But yeah, that's kind of the other fixture that stands out for me. And just quickly, Will X10 on the chats, but who do I say to look at for ownership? If you go on Fanteam Stato on Twitter, that is where we got all of those graphics from.
Cool. Thanks for looking out at the chat for me, Cal. I wasn't looking at that one.
Mate, no worries.
So talk to me about Spurs. We got Spurs against Man City. Obviously, it's one of the most difficult fixtures you're going to come across all season. A lot of people going for Son in their £1 million teams and in FPL, etc. Kane obviously is a bit of a wait and watch for most. What do you see happening in this game today?
I'm hoping that it's the perfect time to play them. I'm hoping that, if there is ever a perfect time to play Man City. Obviously, De Bruyne is not playing. Foden is not playing. They still don't really have a striker. Obviously, we still don't know about the Kane situation. If Jesus starts up front, I'm more than happy for that. So I'm hoping that this is a nicer time to play them. I'm not quite sure if kind of Stones and Walker, etc., will be back in yet, or if they're still going to have to go with, I say have to go with like it's a real issue, playing Cancelo, Diaz and Laporte or whoever else they're going to play with. But I'm hoping it's a nice time to play them. We're back at home with, 60,000 with that kind of 17,000 South stand that's not been there for 18 months, and I'm hoping that the first game bounce atmosphere, the fact that we've got a pretty settled side at the minute, I guess I could probably just about tell you the 11, and I'm hoping it's a bad time to play them. However, I say that and they've still got Grealish, Mahrez, Torres, Gundogan, Cancelo, etc. So I'm probably having big blinkers on, but I don't expect us to get anything, but I also don't expect us to get battered, which is probably a good thing.
Will Kane play?
He's trained yesterday, he's trained today. I think it will be really harsh, considering the front four, Lucas, Bergwijn, Ali and Son have done really well. They've pretty much played every game in pre-season together. I think it would be really harsh to then go, you know what, Kane's trained 2 days. We've had all this rubbish with him, but he's going to start anyway. So I honestly don't think he will. I think he'll be on the bench, and I'm a bit concerned that he's going to get a hefty booing if he comes onto the pitch. Because it's his rubbish apology and whatever else has not gone down well. So I'm a bit concerned about his reaction, if that may push him out the door even further, because he's certainly not. I'm now at the stage where I don't care. Go sell him, get the money, get people in that want to stay. So I don't think he will. I think he'll be on the bench, and I don't think Nuno will use him unless he absolutely has to.
I kind of like the look of that West Ham Newcastle fixture for goals for both teams, to be honest with you. What do you think?
Yeah, it's really one of those that is very much, two teams that it could go either way. And I like those kind of games because they're the ones that if you pick them right, you tend to do really well. Newcastle are a lot cheaper in the Monster than West Ham. Obviously, West Ham are favourites. I agree with you. I can see goals. I think Wilson and St Maximin are actually both fit and firing now. So those two could play up front. And Newcastle are literally a completely different team when St Maximin's playing and when he's not. So I like the look of that. Again, Craig Dawson was brilliant last year, but I keep thinking on top of my head, he can't keep playing that well. He's not like he was playing Watford in the Championship at centre-half and was pretty average. So I don't know if West Ham just had a crazy good season last year, or if, that is actually the West Ham from going forward. Obviously, Ben Rama's quite highly owned. Antonio, as we saw, was 5th highest, I think, percentage in the million-long game. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think there could be goals there. I think West Ham are going in the favourites, and they should be, happy to try and take that. But Souček's my man. I love Souček, and I think, off the top of my head, I think he's 11% owned in the million, and he's in, I think, a lot of my teams. So I like Souček just because of the, the 90-minute man, the shots on target, the goal kind of thing. Just quickly, because I know that we're rubbish looking at the chat. Will's just put, again, who's Spurs playing in defence? I would imagine Tanganga at right back. I think it will still be Dyer and Sanchez at centre half, which makes me cry. But obviously Romero, hopefully, will be ready for next week, and Reguilon will be at left back. And then Bumper FPL has also put the Weekly Monsters bet when Liverpool haven't got a game, too much gravitates towards captaining Mo. I agree, but at the same time, there's then the option of, if Salah doesn't fit. If Salah doesn't fire and you have not put him in or even captained him, you've got a big advantage there. And he's also put Everton good for clean sheets. I reckon the defender's mid-priced. I like the Everton shout. I like the kind of Townsend shout. Southampton obviously just lost Vestergaard, gone over to Leicester. So I think Southampton could be in for a long season as well. So I really like that Everton shout also from Bumper, yeah.
Yeah, Everton Southampton looks like it could be good for Everton there. Like Southampton's team just getting ripped apart. Vestergaard's gone, Ings has gone. Just because you mentioned Souček there, I brought up FPL Irons' article, which is a brilliant article which he's done for the Fanteam Focus website. So like I say, head on over to the website. The link is in the video description, but it's also fanteamfocus.com. Pretty simple, right? He's done a brilliant article, top 5 picks for the weekly monster. So here it is. I'll just scroll through it. So hopefully you can see this here. You've got the fixtures here. Because I thought he would have Souček in there, right? But he hasn't actually got Souček in there. But what he has got, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Tsimikas. 11.4 million and 9.6 million. What do you think about these two, Cal? Would you go for one, both, or neither?
I'd love to get both. I think it's difficult to get both with the price points. I think if you're spending 20 million on two defenders, you're going to struggle to have a good side in the kind of the upper end of your pitch. I really struggle to stay away from Trent, but we also have our fantasy bet section on our Discord, and we're actually on Tsimikas for today to score over 4.5 fantasy points as one of our bets, because he's Trent's target is higher and has got lower odds. So Tsimikas is the one that we're going to be on today because of, is Trent just, are we all thinking of the Trent 2 years ago when he was superb? Is he back into that form? He may well be. Obviously without Robertson, that probably puts Trent on all of the set pieces. I'd imagine corners from both sides, unless Tsimikas is also great at set pieces. I don't know enough about him to know if he'll be on them. But yeah, I think having one of them is pretty much essential, but I'm not sure you could possibly fit in both. And I think because of the price point, I don't think I've got either of them in mind, but if I was going to, I think Tsimikas would just take it for me this week, because that extra 2 million you can spend very wisely elsewhere.
Yes, a good point about Trent and the set pieces, which I thought myself as well. Well, I think I heard it from someone else first, where if Robertson's out, it kind of boosts Trent's appeal a little bit, because Robertson has been taking, like you said, the corners from the left side or whatever it was, and you would think, or you would assume, that Trent then takes them from Robertson. A great point, I think. Tsimikas, I think, is, especially in games like FPL where he's 4 million, it's almost impossible to avoid him at that price if you know that Robertson's out. But in the monster, maybe not so much of a draw for me because of that price is so high. Next up, he's got Michail Antonio. I think we could both agree one of the top picks for striker this week.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm all over that pick. I think he's actually in my team, so yeah, I'm all over that one.
Heung-min Son, he's gone here, 7.2 million against Man City.
Yeah,
sell me that one, Callum.
I love the price, and we'll see my team later, and I think this is where, I really like the monster, because the pricing, as soon as you get an underdog as such. So, for example, say, let's think of an example. Say Man United played Man City. Bruno would probably be priced at around 8 million or something like that. So it always gives you those chances to, it's all purely done pretty much on the fixture rather than obviously anything else. A season-long game. FPL is obviously just their price along the season. Whereas, you get times where Son is 7.2 million and Bruno will be 8 million. And, depending on how the season goes, if Liverpool don't do particularly well, Salah could have a tough game and be 8 million. So I love that 7.2. I think the potential, the upside to that Son pick is so high, and it's acting as an enabler. The fact that Leicester are more expensive, West Ham are more expensive, Aston Villa are more expensive than Son. I just think it's a great enabler to throw in there, where he will be the key man today. If we beat Man City tomorrow, it will be because Son has performed brilliantly. So it's, if you're going to go Spurs, he has to be in there.
I can definitely see him scoring. I can see him scoring. I can't see anyone else from Spurs scoring. Sorry, Callum. But Son, I could, if that pops up on my phone, you know what I mean, notification, Son 1-0, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But and like you said, the price is good. If the price was back to like the normal kind of £1 million game price or the FPL price, then obviously it'd be a no. But like you said, the prices are very much skewed towards the fixture in the monster, which obviously makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So exactly. Lewis Dunk, he's got next 8.3 million. What do you think?
Yeah, love Dunkey. I think I don't know if Brighton are going to, like I said, I think I said on the stream last week, I'm not sure if Brighton are going to be a trap or if they're going to be a great option. I love Dunk for he got the most shots on target for a defender last year by quite a way. Obviously, clean sheets are a potential there. He's a bit of a menace, you know, in the opposition box as well. So I love Dunk. I also love Solly March, and I don't know his price for the monster this week. I'd have to have a look, but certainly in the million long game, he is a defender. I think it was Jay that actually pointed that out in the very first stream that we did. I'm assuming March is still a defender for the monster. I'm sure they wouldn't have changed that. So as someone that plays left wing back and very attacking going forward, kinds of a left wing, I'd have to check March's price, and I'll do it in a second. But I think Dunk or Solly March are really, really good picks. But yeah, they've got Burnley, haven't they? Burnley, just such a Burnley team. They're never, like, Burnley are not going to turn them over 2-3-0. So you're not going to be getting, you know, minus points. So the worst you're going to get is probably concede 1 goal, maximum 2. So, you know, you're not going to get a hefty loss there. So I love both of them.
Yeah, Solly March scored a few goals last season, I remember. He was reverse out of position, I think, in Fantasy Premier League. Like you said, Jay recommended him
7.9 million. It's just so what's Dunk? 8 point, was it sound there? 8.23?
And he is a defender, yeah?
Yeah, so Solly March is a defender at 7.9. So I think if I had to pick one of the two, I'd probably actually lean towards March, because I think March is on, I think Pascal Gross has a lot of the set pieces, but I think March has a couple as well. So I just like the wing back option where, you know, you've got the multiple ways of trying to get attacking returns, but certainly, you know, Dunk is a great option as well. It just depends on, you know, every year I think Burnley at some stage are going to have to go down. Like, it's the same team every year, and they're just finishing the same place every year, and it's the same style of football every year. And I think at some stage they're going to have to be caught out. But I just think at home, Turf Moor, they will always get enough results at home. So yeah, I like the pick, but we just don't know what Burnley's going to turn up, I guess.
Ollie Watkins is last on the list here. FPL Irons has got Ollie Watkins 9.8 million as his number 5 pick. What do you think the impact of the Danny Ings signing, and there's been a lot of speculation about changes in formation and systems, etc., and how Ollie Watkins fits into that? Do you have any thoughts on how that might pan out?
I think it's very much a wait and see. I think I saw a press conference where Dean Smith said, you know, Ollie Watkins was bought as a striker and we're going to play him as a striker. So, you know, but that would kind of take into account a whole formation change. So I don't know the way that's going to work if they're going to move to a 4-4-2. He's kind of said Buendia's fit, which is a big kind of positive. I don't think Leon Bailey will start yet. I think he'll probably more likely to be on the bench. But I think Villa are very, very much a wait and see. And if you're going to obviously put them in the monster, you've got Ings at 10 million, you've got Watkins at 9.8. So there's literally no difference, and it's very much a pick 'em. You're not going to have both in the team, I don't think. But it's very much there. You could pretty much toss a coin. It's the same price. Ings probably has penalties, so that maybe leans the 0.2 in his favour. But then I'd also say Watkins is probably more likely to play the 90, so he's more likely to get an extra point for you there. So I don't have a definitive answer on that Villa one. I think it's very much a wait and see. But I think kind of after game week 3, 4, 5, I think we'll have a clearer picture there of who's a better asset out of Ings and Watkins.
Do smash the like button, guys, if you are watching live. Liking the videos really helps us out. Subscribe if you're new, and head on over to Fanteam Focus if you want juicy articles like this. FPL Irons Luke, who was on the show last week, doing some great stuff over there. Okay, let's get into the team reveals. We got Callum's team first. Here it is. Callum, what's your team?
So people will be looking at this thinking it's a bad team. However, I am one of those managers that I don't want to just, you know, get a little bit of cash. I want to either win the thing or I want to come last. I'm not bothered in, you know, just doubling my money or whatever. I want to absolutely nail it. So lots of different kind of smaller prize players, lots of more kind of higher. For podcast listeners, we've got Rhys in goal. I've got two other Spurs players in there. So I've got Son and Dele Alli as well. And, if Spurs are going to win, they may get a clean sheet, and it may be an extra, clean sheet point for both my midfielders plus Lloris. He'll be busy, so he's going to make loads of save points regardless. So that's kind of the main reason why Lloris is in there. Not really for a clean sheet, but I just think he's going to be busy and have to save a lot of shots. So Lloris in goal. We've got Pereira at Leicester at the back. Like I said at the start, I don't like Wolves at all, and I really, really like Pereira. I think he's a great player. I'd love him to be at Spurs, and I think his price was about 9.2 off the top of my head, so not a bad price point either. And again, he's one of those that could have an attacking return and could have a clean sheet. So now my underdog, like I said at the start, you basically have to have an underdog team in there somewhere just because of the price points. So I'm going with a Watford double up. And obviously we've now got, because it's the monster, we've got the stacking penalty in place. So if they do get a clean sheet, I'll get -1 on one of those, but I'm happy to take that. I wouldn't put any more than 2 from the same team in there. But I just think, Watford at home last season had the best record in the Championship. They had loads of clean sheets, and obviously I know it's a different ball game. I'm going on the fact that maybe Villa haven't quite gelled yet. They've got lots of new players, like we said, could be a different formation. And I think they're about 6.2, 6.3. Nagaki has actually changed because he's now flagged he's not in the game. So I think I've downgraded to their other centre half. I can't remember his name. So I've got both the Watford centre halves in there as my cheap clean sheet option that it will either pay off or it either doesn't. But you have to take a risk in the monster. Loaded the midfield. I love the 3-5-2 formation that I'll pretty much go with all the time. I'm going with the Liverpool triple up, and they are obviously very expensive. However, I am going on the fact that I think Liverpool could really turn them over 4-5-0 here. And, I want to make sure that I'm getting involved in all the action. Jota will start up front. That will be the front three, and they're all class as midfielders. It's at Norwich. Salah's got a great record against Norwich, and I just fancy that to be a massive result. So I've put the armband on Jota as, again, I want to be first, I want to be last. Salah would be following the crowd a bit too much. Mane, I think, will still be quite highly captained, whereas I think Jota won't be because of his price point. I don't think many people have him in there. So Jota gets a couple of goals, he's going to fire me straight up the leaderboard. So I'm happy to go with that triple Liverpool midfield. I can see loads of goals in there. Again, Son and Ali are my, again, cheaper options, but options that I think have got a lot of upside to them. Son, like we said, is playing as a striker again. So kind of 4 of my 5 midfielders are actually playing as a striker, which again, obviously gives me a lot more of an advantage. And Ali looked good in pre-season. He arrived late. I think it's about 6.5 million. So again, very cheap. And I think, potential to get a goal, maybe play the 90, maybe get a clean sheet. And then Vardy and Antonio as my strikers. Again, we've talked about Antonio, fancy goals. Vardy, don't particularly like Wolves. He's on penalties, fancy those goals. So I think this is very much going to be a boom or bust team, which is what I'm happy with. That's what I always look at them and go, right, is this going to come last? Could it come first? Could it come last? And if it can come first and can come last, I think I've done a good job.
It's interesting philosophy. Though there's one player who I really, really like, and it's making me want him in my team, and that's Jamie Vardy. He could go off today, couldn't he?
He really could. And like I said, I mean, don't get me wrong, Wolves could go up today. They could go away to Leicester. They could go, you know what, new manager, lots of new players. We're just going to park the bus and we're just going to sit there. But I just love the fact that Vardy is always scoring goals. He's always there or thereabouts. I think because of his price point, he's a little bit more expensive. I think he could be low owned. And I do think you have to think about that. That's kind of like I've said about the Jota captaincy. I don't think he'll be captained by many players I don't think he'll be in many teams because of his price, let alone the captaincy. So I think Vardy will be similar. I'm not sure that people will go with him. I think people will look at Watkins, they'll look at Ings, they'll look at, obviously Antonio, they could look at Callum Wilson. So I think he could be lower owned as well. But yeah, Vardy he just never disappoints, does he? He always scores every year. He's one of those weird players that seems to get better with his age every year.
I'm going to pop a poll in the chat, right? And it's going to be whose team will win, Callum or Rhys. So it's an opportunity for, if there's anybody watching still, you can get involved and just let us know who you think is going to win today. And we'll let you know across the socials, etc. Okay, so if there's anybody still watching, there's a poll. Who do you think is going to win? So I'll get to my team now. Here we go. So we got Martinez in goal. Very much like we mentioned earlier about save points and stuff like that. He was a great goalkeeper last season. They got Watford. But then when I think about it a bit more now, is he really going to be making many saves against Watford? So I'm a bit concerned about that now. Armity, Lowton, Alonso, Dunk, and Digne. The first name on my team sheet was Alonso. Just I don't really know that he's going to start. But correct me if I'm wrong, Callum. Do we get the team sheets before the deadline today, like we did with the Championship last
week? Yes. Do Chelsea kick off at 3? If they kick off at 3, then you definitely do. I'm not sure what time they kick off, but if it's at 3, yeah, the monster doesn't shut till dead on kickoff. So all those 3 o'clock kickoffs, you'll get all the team sheets. Yeah.
Cool. So Alonso was first on the team sheet because he offers that. He's getting on a bit now, but he definitely offers that attacking threat when he plays, doesn't he? And the clean sheet odds are the highest, I think, for Chelsea, which explains why they're so expensive this week, right? Dunk, who came in FPL Irons' article there, excuse me. Digne, who we spoke about, Everton against Southampton, could be goals in that game, could potentially be a clean sheet for Everton as well, so I like that. Armity as well, I'm hoping he's going to sneak in just before Vestergaard comes into the club and play his last game, potentially, before Vestergaard slips in alongside Soyuncu. Who knows, hopefully he can get a goal to send him on his way. Salah, Jota and Fornals. Are you worried about Jota at all, Callum? Are you worried about Firmino?
Not this week. No, I'm pretty sure Jota will be absolutely nailed. I'm not sure going past game week 1, but I'm just hoping that he can take in his form. That he had that patch last season, didn't he, where he was just phenomenal in every game he was scoring and assisting. So no, I've got no concerns about Jota this week. Certainly the £1 million long season game. I'm concerned about minutes there, but I think we'll be okay for this game week.
For Niles, I've gone for, just because he hit me in game week 38 last season, I bought Ben Rama was benched, and then Fornals scored a hat-trick. So it's gonna be closure for me today, the Fornals pick. I nearly bought him in Fantasy Premier League, but it was just too much of a left field thing to do. But he was 6 million, so this kind of offers me a bit of closure in that kind of story. Antonio and Pukki up front. Now I can see Pukki scoring against Liverpool. Liverpool haven't had an amazing defence for the past 12 months. Robertson's injured, and okay, Robertson's not really a defender. He's basically a winger, isn't he? But if anyone's going to score against Liverpool, it's going to be Pukki, isn't he? And like you said about the prices, similar to the Son thing, he's priced so low.
Yeah,
I can see it happening. So it's kind of a value pick there. Antonio, like we mentioned, is one of the standouts. What's your thoughts, Carl?
Yeah, I like it. There's a few things that stand out to me there. I like the fact that if you're going Pukki without, basically, if you're not playing a Liverpool defence, you're basically gambling on the fact that they're not going to get a clean sheet anyway. So, like you said, if you're gambling on that fact, then Pukki's going to be the man to do it. I can't see particularly anybody else scoring for Norwich. So I like that little selection there. Obviously, we've got Salah and Jota exactly the same. We've got Antonio the same. Fornals is a really interesting one because Ben PZ, who's kind of was again a big name kind of before in the footstop world. He's a massive West Ham fan, and he says kind of Fornals just plays so many minutes, but he doesn't really do a lot, but he's always there and he always kind of contributes random times. So he's one that really likes Fornals because obviously you look at Bowen and Ben Rama and those kind of things. He's one of those that he could just hit one day, and obviously that's what you need in the monster. Love the Digne pick, love the Alonso pick. Again, with those prices, I think they're a great point for clean sheets, which you'd expect, and obviously also attacking returns, especially Digne. I love Digne, so I think he's a great pick. My one thing I'd probably say, which actually is maybe you're splitting too much between your defence in terms of teams. I think you're relying on a lot of clean sheets there, Rhys, a lot of different clean sheets. So I'd probably try and I'm no expert by any means, but if I was looking at this team, I'd probably go maybe try and stack your defense a little bit more. I know you're probably looking at price points, which is why you've gone down that route. But I just think, 6 clean sheets, you've got 6 different teams there. I think you're going to be doing very, very well to pick 6 clean sheets there. So that's my only thing I'd probably say. Bumper agrees with me in the chat. Nice to know that someone agrees with me. That's the only thing I'd say. I love it going forward. I think defensively, potentially 6 clean sheets is a bit too much of an ask. So could you downgrade Amati to another Burnley defender? Could you pop Charlie Taylor in there potentially? Could you downgrade Martinez to Robert Sanchez potentially? They're all options. Like I said, you never know. Dunk could go and score, Alonso could score, Digne could score, and Burnley could get a clean sheet, and it's happy days. So what do I know? But that's what I'd change if I was looking at it. But I certainly think apart from that, it's a good side.
Yeah, that's not something I actually considered, but it's definitely a factor, isn't it, with these monsters, because they're only like a 1 week game, and it's something we talked about, I think, last week with Luke. The odds of me predicting 5 clean sheets are a lot longer than the odds of me predicting 2, which is why they have the stacking penalties, etc. So that's probably an oversight on my part. Yeah, and you're right to bring it up.
But
Thanks
what we're saying
in the
is,
chat as well, Bumper FPL, for letting me know. Always happy for the feedback.
Absolutely. But that's kind of what I'm talking about, kind of that boom or bust approach. There, you're probably, you could potentially get into the cash to double your moats. It depends what you're looking for. If you're looking to, get your investment back and maybe get a little bit of profit, that's probably a better way to go. But if you're looking, like I said, at either first or last, you just want to whack in 2 teams. And if they get a clean sheet, you're a winner. If they don't, you're going to get nothing. So it has its upsides because, as someone new, Rhys, like you are in terms of Fanteam, you'd probably be happy to get in the cash this week. And I think spreading that out a little bit more and spreading that kind of risk out a bit more gives you more of that chance. Whereas, if you took out Amati and put in another Burnley defender, and you took out Digne and put in another Brighton one, if Brighton and Burnley concede, you ain't getting in the money. Whereas like that, you've got the chance to potentially get into the cash. So it all depends on the way you're playing it. Like I said, if you're playing it like that, I think that's a great route to go. If you're looking at boom or bust, you're probably not going to win it with that team, but you've got more of a potential of getting into the cash than I have with mine. Mine's either going to do really well or absolutely terribly, whereas yours could have just a nice score, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I would like to get in the cash with my little £1 entry and just kind of just build it up slowly from there, learn the game, and then maybe put some more money into it once I've kind of get more confident in the things like we're talking about now, the different strategies and stuff like that. But it's really fun. I'm enjoying it loads. Guys, that's it for us today. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Callum, is there anything going on the website this week? I know there's loads of articles been coming out, isn't there?
Yeah, so we're back into the full season kind of content. We are starting the game week 1 Fanteam Focus Cup, which starts today, 3:00 deadline. So anyone that is watching this that is yet to enter their team that was in the draw's already been made. We've got 128 Fanteam users in a knockout competition going against each week. And I know I said we would talk about the prize, but I know that David is in the chat here. He has yet to send me the prizes. I know it's not his fault. We're just waiting for confirmation from Fanteam. As soon as we get the confirmation of the prizes, we will let people know, but there certainly will be some prizes for that cup. Our leaderboard is obviously still running, even though it's shut on game week 1. We've done the leaderboard so much that you could start and refer someone in February, and you've still got a chance to go and win that, because it only takes, off the top of my head, I think your best 8 scores across the season. So again, all you need to do to get involved in that leaderboard, where we are giving away £2,000, and there are not a lot of entries, so you've got pretty much a big chance of winning £1,000. All you need to do is refer one person. If that's your mum, your dad, your grandma, your dog, your neighbor, your family friend, one person to get on that leaderboard, and then every other referral apart from that obviously gets you even more points. So that's coming this week as well. That will start game week 2, the leaderboard. The cup starts this week. We've got articles coming out of our ears, kind of looking at monsters. We've got a massive CSGO article from Dan Jackknife coming out today. So yeah, we're very, very busy. David will have his podcast again out next week. Obviously, you'll have another video out midweek, and then we'll go again for next week's stream on Saturday morning, looking at how we have done this week. And then obviously looking forward to game week 2, where hopefully we'll have a bit more information kind of from performances from game week 1.
So the poll, Callum, you got 80% and I got 20%. We only got 5 votes, but I mean, that speaks volumes. We can see who the experienced Fanteam player is here, can't we?
Well, like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if yours goes above mine. I will either be first or last, whereas I think you've got a nice chance of cashing. So we'll see. We'll see the way that it comes out. But I reckon that we should have a little, 3 points for winning each week, Rhys, between me and you. See who wins the end of the season.
Yeah, we could sort something like that out. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
A little leaderboard, our own little personal stream leaderboard.
I'll tell you what, and we can have each week a guest. We can have like a guest point. So obviously we haven't got one this week, but from next week, where the guest gets involved, and we'll see if the guests beat us across the season.
Interesting stuff. Right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll leave